On today's show, Cavs lost to the Pistons on Friday night. I think we all just need to take a little bit of a deep breath. We'll talk through this next, right here on today's edition of Locked On Cavs.
You are Locked On Cavs, your daily Cleveland Cavaliers podcast.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? My name is Danny Cunningham. You might know me from my time covering the Cleveland Cavaliers, places like my Substack, The Inside Shot, Cleveland Magazine, 92.3 The Fan, and a number of other stops along the way. Before we get started, I just want to say thank you to you for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. You can find the show anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Drop us a 5-star rating. Leave us a nice review. Be a friend. Tell a friend about Locked On Cavs. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure a friend is subscribed as well. And if you're watching the show on YouTube right now, do me a favor. Hit that thumbs up button for me. Click subscribe and hit that notification bell. Help the show out. That is the best way that you possibly can. Of course, we are a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel, because right now new FanDuel customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Again, $200 in bonus bets when that first $5 bet wins. The Cavs lost on Friday night, 133-122. I'm in Detroit as I record this right now. As you can see, I don't have my normal background. There is a bathroom behind me. I am sitting where Kenny Atkinson sits to do his pre- and post-game media availability in Detroit. So if you ever wonder what is behind the curtain that is in the background, a little bit of, just taking you behind the scenes here, that's what it is in Detroit. There's a bathroom right behind where Kenny talks. I don't know if it's ever in use, but there's a bathroom right there. So the Cavs didn't look good for much of this night. They staged a furious rally in the fourth quarter. They came back they were down 19 at the start of the fourth. They were down by 21 near the end of the third quarter, and they came back and they made it a 2-point game. Thanks in large part to Donovan Mitchell having a fantastic fourth quarter. I mean, he took over this game. He was incredible. He hit all 3 threes that he hit on the night in the fourth quarter, got to the free throw line a bunch, did a lot of things really, really well. Ultimately, it wasn't enough because the Cavs dug themselves in a pretty big hole. As I said, a 21-point deficit against a good team, and that's what Detroit is. Detroit is a very good basketball team, and I think they're playing good basketball right now. That's too much to overcome, especially with where you consider the Cavs to be at right now. And I know that because the Cavs have not played great basketball for a pretty large stretch now, I think this sort of dates back to the start of the month of March. I know that there are a lot of people freaking out, and I just want to talk through this a little bit. And I throughout the game, I was commenting about this on social media. So if you follow me on Twitter or if you follow me on Blue Sky, I think you kind of know where I stand on this stuff, but I don't think this is a big deal. I don't think that there's anything. Okay. I don't think there are many things, I should say, to be concerned about with this stretch of basketball. I think the fact that opposing teams are really taking advantage of the Cavs on the glass, that's something to be concerned about. I think the turnovers being a little bit up, I think that is something to be concerned about. But I don't think overall the fact that the Cavs have lost, 5 games this month, I don't think that's a big deal. I still think they're going to be the 1 seed. They have a 4-game lead over the Boston Celtics. Even after this loss, their magic number to clinch the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference remains at 5. I still think that this is a team that is set up for postseason success. That has not changed because they've lost 5 games in a month for the first time this season. I think that is something that I think it's easy when the team is struggling in a way that we haven't seen the team struggle this year. This is by far the worst stretch of basketball they've played, and they're still 59-15. I think it's easy to lose sight of the bigger picture. The Cavs haven't won or lost the championship in the month of March. They haven't won or lost the Eastern Conference in the month of March. These games, they're not entirely inconsequential, but these games don't have postseason stakes for the Cavs. Guess what? They're not going to be the number 1 overall seed. OKC is going to finish with a better record than them. I really don't think that's something the Cavs cared about. I don't think that they were scratching and clawing, trying to win every game so that they would have game 1 of the NBA Finals in Cleveland. I don't think that was ever a goal for them. Does home court advantage in the first round matter to them? I do think so. And they still have a significant cushion. They have a 4-game lead with 8 games left to play. So I do think that is something that, yeah, that matters. And I don't think that they're going to lose that because they haven't played great basketball lately. And I think that nobody wants to hear the fatigue thing. And I get it. Like, that is not a fun thing to talk about. It can be looked at as an excuse. It can be an easy out. And the players really don't want to talk about it either. Believe me, like, I've been asking about it. But after this game, they started to admit it a little bit. They've played in the month of March. This was their 15th game in 27 days. And of course, they have another game on Sunday against the Clippers. We'll look ahead to that a little bit later on in the show. But they've played a lot of basketball in not a lot of time. They've had back-to-back days off one time in the month of March. What happened after they had back-to-back days off? They went into Memphis, and I still cannot believe that Taylor Jenkins got fired today. That's a different story for a different podcast. But they went into Memphis and blew the Grizzlies' doors off. They smoked the Grizzlies, who at the time, I believe, had the number 2 record in the Western Conference. And I think that they were playing a little bit better basketball at that time than they are right now. So that's what they looked like with rest. And they also have not played since February 21st and 23rd. That was the game against the New York Knicks. And I don't remember who the other game was against. But that was the last time. It might have been against Memphis, actually. That was the last time that the Cavs played back-to-back games. It was against Memphis. That was the last time the Cavs played back-to-back games in the same city. That's a really, really hard way to operate. So if you look at it now, they've essentially played their last, I think it is 17 games in a different city every night. Nobody wants to hear it, and I get it. And does it explain everything? No, I don't think so. I think that there are some things that could be done better. I think the Cavs are losing some of the 50-50 balls that they've won a lot of the year. And I think, for a large part of the season, the ball bounced the Cavs' way, and it hasn't for the most part during this month, at least in the back half of this month. The front part of this month probably did a little bit more. But I do think that the offensive rebounding is an issue right now. How much of that is the Cavs are not good at rebounding versus the Cavs are tired, and when you are struggling to find the requisite energy, that's something that goes. How much is not getting to the 50-50 balls, not having, the same amount of burst or pep in your step as your opponent? Like in this game on Friday night, and this is not all of it, but it factors into it. It's the third game in 4 nights for the Cavs. A couple of nights ago, they were playing in Portland. Now they played in Cleveland on Thursday, Detroit on Friday. Is that a tough travel? No, but it's still travel. It still matters. It's still 2 games in 2 nights, 3 games in 4 nights. Detroit hasn't played since Wednesday, had not played since Tuesday. So they had 2 days off, and they had been home for a week. That matters into this. Like, Detroit looked like a team that was well rested, and the Cavs looked like a team that was exhausted. Now, does that explain everything? Of course not. The Cavs need to play better. And if the Cavs play like this in the postseason is not going to go the way that they expect the postseason to go. What they're playing like right now is not championship caliber basketball. I don't think anyone should think that. And I know that nobody in that locker room thinks that, yes, what is happening right now is good enough for the Cavs to win a championship. This is not the case. But I do think that they are not going to overdo this talking point publicly, but I think that the scheduling matters. I think that this is a team that is fatigued, and Donovan Mitchell talked a little bit about it. And Darius Garland said, we're not going to make excuses, but yeah, that is something that matters. And the other thing too, that I keep coming back to after being in the locker room on Friday night, because I do not think that this is something that should be concerning. And that leads me to ask, well, if I don't think that, what does Kenny Atkinson think of that? What does Donovan Mitchell think? Like, does he think that this should be concerning? So I found ways to ask those questions to the people that the responses matter from. I asked Kenny Atkinson if he's concerned about the fact that Cavs are not playing their best basketball at this time of year. He doesn't seem to be. He thinks that this stuff, and they still have 8 games left to figure it out. It's not as if the playoffs start tomorrow. They don't start for a couple of weeks still. But he wasn't concerned about where the Cavs are at right now. Donovan Mitchell was not concerned with where the Cavs are at right now. He went as far as to take a look in the rearview mirror and what the end of the season was like last year. And yes, the Cavs went to 7 games with the Orlando Magic, and they probably shouldn't have done that. But I don't think that was impacted by the way that they closed the regular season, because look how they came out in those first 2 playoff games where they blew Orlando's doors off. And yeah, that team lost in the second round, but if they were playing their best basketball at the end of the season, were they going to beat that Boston Celtics team? No, they were not good enough last year to beat what Boston was last year. They are good enough to do that. I don't think that it makes sense to throw away everything that this team has accomplished this year and all of the goodwill that they have built up because they've lost a few games in March. I don't think it makes sense. I think that is really overlooking the big picture at hand here, because the goal for this team was not to win 66, 67, 68 games. The goal for this team is to win a championship. And ultimately, they haven't won the championship, but they haven't lost the championship. And I think that acting like they've lost the championship because they're in a little bit of a slump before the playoffs arrive is a little bit silly. I think part of it is, and listen, you can think whatever you want to think. Maybe you think I'm full of it. Maybe you think that I don't know what I'm talking about. I like to think that I do. I like to think that I've seen stories like this before. But nobody in that locker room is concerned. Vibes are really high right now with the Cavs. They're not playing their best basketball. They know they're not playing their best basketball. It's not as if they're in the locker room after a game against Detroit and talking about, yeah, we played really great, but Detroit played better. Give them credit. No, they know they played bad. Donovan Mitchell, one of the first things he said when he met with the media after this game was, we should have won this game, but we didn't play well enough. We let the gap get too big, and the comeback came up short. We should have played better. We should have won this game, and we didn't. Now, give Detroit credit. I thought Detroit played really, really well. Tim Hardaway Jr. was awesome in this game. I thought Malik Beasley was really good in this game. This is a really, really nice win for the Detroit Pistons without Cade Cunningham, without Tobias Harris. But they were a team that was rested, and they looked like it. The Cavs were a team that is exhausted, and they looked like it. I do wonder if part of, and again, I'm never going to tell you how to be a fan because you are allowed to have whatever opinion about the Cavs that you have. It might be different than the one that I have, and for some of you, I think it is right now. I do think that there are some people that this season has been so good that you're almost waiting for the other shoe to drop, that the Cavs are a mirage. They're not. This month is. There were good things to come out of this game. I thought Donovan Mitchell was awesome. I think that we are going to see this team look much, much different very, very soon. And we're going to talk about that next right here on Locked On Cavs. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. FanDuel is, of course, America's #1 sportsbook, and March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before, because right now, new FanDuel customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. It's 200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories, even who's going to be cutting down the nets after all of it. There's games going on as I speak right now. I don't think you can see a clock in the background, but it's almost midnight Friday night. So I think there are games going on right now. There are games going on, tonight as you listen to this on Saturday. So you can get in on that action. I don't know who plays. I have no idea. I'm so ingrained with the NBA, but I know that there's action and you can get in on that action with FanDuel. And the games are happening just about every day. Today, tomorrow, there's going to be basketball in the NBA on Monday. There's always something to get in on the action with FanDuel. The app is simple to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. There's no waiting around. So visit FanDuel.com. That is FanDuel.com today and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. Again, new FanDuel customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Just head on over to FanDuel.com today. Today's show is also brought to you by Epic Core. Every team knows the value of hard work and taking pride in what you build and practicing every detail to get the best results. But no one player, no matter how amazing, can do it all alone. Working together makes getting the win easier. And at Epic Core, the All-Stars are the hardworking manufacturers and distributors who create and deliver the things we all need, from aerospace to electrical to medical devices. Epic Core ERP solutions are created by industry experts to help make every day easier. Seeing your whole supply chain is easier. Managing logistics is easier. Responding to price changes is easier. From small businesses like mine with big dreams to growing enterprises with global vision, they will equip you with the right tools to move forward, think ahead, and lead the way. Because as the clock ticks down, you need to make the most of every hardworking minute. Easier doesn't cut corners. Easier takes the lead. Discover your success at easierwithepicor.com. That is easierwithepicor.com. Thank you again for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. Like I said at the top of the show, you can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Drop us a 5-star rating. Leave us a nice review. Be a friend. Tell a friend about Locked On Cavs. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure a friend is subscribed as well. And also make sure you check out the Locked On Cavs daily newsletter. It is your one stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox every day. Sign up for free now at lockedondaily.com. That is lockedondaily.com. So what went wrong exactly in this game on Friday night? And the thing that I keep coming back to is the hustle stuff. And that to me is one of the big reasons why this isn't some concerning loss. If you look at how the Pistons won this game, one, they shot the ball well, like a team that was rested. They were 47% from the floor. They were 44% from beyond three-point range. They were 15 of 34 from deep. Tim Hardaway Jr. hit 7 threes. Malik Beasley hit 3 threes. Like that's part of the reason why they won this game. The Cavs, who have really struggled shooting the basketball this month, were 15 of 40. So not like a bad night, but by their standards, that is a below average shooting night. They entered this month shooting like 39% or something along those lines, something near it from beyond the arc. And they've only shot that number, I believe, 4 times in the entire month of March. Like this has been a very bad shooting month for this team. The other thing that I look at, one of the other things that I look at is the second chance points. And this was really big early in the game. Like the first 6 points Detroit scored were all second chance points. I didn't think that for some stretches of the game, the defense was bad. But I didn't think that the defense was bad for the entirety of this game. I thought that they couldn't corral rebounds. And yes, the defensive possession doesn't end until you get the ball. That's a really important part of defense. And you cannot be a great defensive team without being a great rebounding team. Those two things go hand in hand. You can be a great rebounding team without being a great defensive team, but you cannot have great defense without great rebounding. So Detroit, and this is something that follows a trend, against the Spurs. San Antonio had 19 offensive rebounds against the Cavs. Portland the other night had 19 offensive rebounds against the Cavs. The Pistons had 16 offensive rebounds. Jalen Duren had 6 of them. Malik Beasley had 3. Dennis Schroeder had 2. Like the fact that guards are getting offensive rebounds is not a good sign. I do think part of that is bad luck. Like that tends to happen more when teams miss threes and there are long rebounds. But the Pistons really took advantage of that. They had 24 second chance points and 16 offensive rebounds. They were 8 of 16 on those second chance opportunities. And that is, more than the difference in this game. The Cavs are not doing a good enough job right now rebounding. Is that because of something they're doing schematically? I do think that when they play zone, I think rebounding is the hardest part of that for them. I really do think that they struggle, and I really wish I had the rebounding rate for when they are in zone. That's part of this. I think part of this is it's easier to grab rebounds when you're fresher. That is at times that 50-50 ball. And I think the Cavs have done a great job of winning those battles for a large portion of the season. The last couple of weeks, they've not done a great job of winning those battles. And that's going to happen. That is what is happening right now. Fast break points. Detroit outscored the Cavs 25-6. That is, I think, a very clear sign of fatigue. That's why this is just not some concerning loss. I did think the one thing that I can't necessarily put my finger on is the playmaking for the Cavs in this game. So the Cavs only had 16 assists, which I don't know if that is their lowest total of the season. I know it is certainly one of their lowest totals of the season. I'm going to look this up while I talk, but that is not who the Cavs are. So it is tied for their lowest total of the season, 16 assists. And because there were so many other things just that I thought were important to ask about from this game, I didn't have the chance to ask about the assist total, but they had 16 assists on 39 field goals. And when the Cavs are at their best offensively, and listen, they still scored 122 points despite not having a great shooting night. A lot of that was they got to the foul line a ton. Donovan was 11 of 13 from the free throw line. They were 29 of 38 as a team, but they also put the Pistons on the foul line too much. And, maybe we can talk about how this game was officiated. I know that there have been some issues, and Kenny Atkinson got another technical foul tonight. It feels like he's gotten 3 or 4 of them in the month of March. But this game was maybe not the best officiated game. That's not why the Cavs lost this game. Like, the free throw disparity was in the Cavs' favor by 3. It was just a very oddly officiated game. So that is, the Cavs are losing these. They're the 50-50 balls. They're losing the hustle things right now. And I don't think that this is the Cavs got complacent. I think they're trying really hard. I think they're putting forth all the effort that they just possibly can. I just think that their version of their best selves in the month of March right now, with what they've done, with what the schedule has looked like, with where they're at in the season, is not as good as what their best was in mid-February when they were fresh. And they're going to get back to that. I really do think that they'll get back to looking like that. Now, they play the Clippers on Sunday. Maybe it's not going to be them. But let's talk about what things look like moving forward for the Cavs, and when should we expect? When would it be time to panic if the Cavs don't look like the Cavs again? Let's dive into that next right here on Locked On Cavs. Thank you again for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. Like I said earlier, you can find the show on YouTube. And if you're watching right now, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button for me, click subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the latest Locked On Cavs content. When are the Cavs going to look like the Cavs again? And when is it time, or when is it okay to start to panic? So I don't necessarily have super high expectations for Sunday's game against the Clippers. It's a 3:30 start time. Against, Western Conference teams, those can be really weird. Now, that said, the Clippers have been on the East Coast for a little bit. I believe that's the end of a road trip for them. So maybe they looked gassed too. That will be, of course, again, the third game for the Cavs in 4 days. They have 1 day off in between. It should not be shocking if the Cavs don't look great on Sunday. Now, is it possible they look great? Sure. I think that would go a long way towards maybe easing some of the tension of the fan base, but I wouldn't necessarily expect that. Then they have 2 days off, and it'll be the first time they have 2 days off in, I think, 3 weeks, essentially. After that, they play New York at home. So it's not just that they have 2 days off. They haven't had 2 days off at home in a really long time. For that, I think you have to essentially go back to the All-Star break. They've not had 2 days. They have not had 2 days off at home since prior to the All-Star break. That is a really, really, really long time. And I know it sounds like I'm making schedule excuses, but these things matter. Like I am telling you, these things matter. It's not the be all end all, but it's important. So that is something the Cavs are going to have that. Like, I do expect, and maybe if by time the game against New York rolls around, and if they don't look good against the Knicks on Wednesday night, that's when I think it might be fair to start being concerned about this, because then they'll be fresh. That's the second night of a back-to-back for New York, I do believe. I doubt Jalen Brunson is back by then. That is a game that the Cavs should look good in. Now, do I expect them to win that game by 40 the way they did the last time the Knicks were in town? Probably not. But I think that they're going to look like a much different team than what we saw in Detroit on Friday, than what we saw against San Antonio on Thursday at home, than what we saw in Portland, than what we saw. Maybe the Utah game's a bad example because Utah's not playing real basketball right now, than what we saw in the majority of that West Coast trip. That is when I expect to see the Cavs start to look like the Cavs again. And then after that, a one-game trip in San Antonio, that should be a game that they look good in. Again, coming home against Sacramento should look good. Like, if I think that they will turn it around and look like a much better basketball team starting this week. I really do think that a week from right now, and I will be recording a podcast, after the Cavs play San Antonio 1 week from Friday night, tonight, as I record this, I think that the feeling about this team is going to be much, much different. Now, are there still going to be people that doubt the Cavs because they went through a little bit of a March hiccup? Probably. But again, this is not the end of the world. This doesn't change who the Cavs are. Don't lose sight of the big picture with this team because they've had, by their standards, a bad month. Overall, they're still not bad in this month. They've lost 5 games in March. That's not a big deal. Most teams in the NBA have multiple months in a season where they lose 5 games. The Cavs are not most teams. It happens. Okay? It's going to be okay. The Cavs are going to continue to be the Cavs. Do not lose sight of what this team has proven. They know what they're capable of in that locker room. And I think if you've watched this team all year, I think you probably know what they're capable of too. But thank you for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. You'll find the show anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Drop us a 5-star rating. Leave us a nice review. Be a friend. Tell a friend about Locked On Cavs. Make sure you are subscribed. Make sure a friend is subscribed as well. And if you're watching the show on YouTube, do me a favor before we get out of here. Hit that thumbs up button for me. Click subscribe. And hit that notification bell so you don't miss the latest Locked On Cavs content. I will be back after the game against the Clippers to talk more.